Coming up on Tekzilla, it's Windows 7 week, people. Top tips from Macs and PC's Will Smith. Should you go 32-bit or 64-bit? Loyd Case has the answer, along with the Windows 7 performance hack. Using a thumb drive to get Windows 7 on your notebook, Veronica is going to show you how, and the top 5 reasons to not upgrade to Windows 7 from our beloved Roger Chang. So drop some cabbage on your tacos pescados and keep them away from the keyboard. They drip, people, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by Go to Assist Express, GoDaddy.com, and Squarespace.com. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear that you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or where to get the best salad greens at the San Francisco's Farmers Market, we've got an answer for you.
Oh, Marin Roots Farm for the win, people.
He is a frickin' Farmers Market extraordinaire here.
Sorry.
He doesn't miss a weekend.
Well, no, I actually did miss last weekend. We should talk about tech, though. If we don't have the answer, we'll track down someone who does, although, oh, Dirty Girls Farm, too. They have great greens.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness. Windows 7 is here!
Windows 7! I don't know why we're that excited, but
actually,
yeah.
you know what? I'd love a good operating system launch. I was so terminally disappointed. And this is the first of many Vista slags you will hear during the course of our show today. Windows Vista, I didn't enjoy it at launch. It was okay pre-installed on machines. It wasn't until Service Pack 2 that it got good. And Windows 7 is kicking its ass in 7 different directions.
Absolutely, though. Of course, with any new operating system, it comes with a host of questions, some of them fairly new for most Windows users, like, should I go 64-bit or 32-bit?
Which is a big question.
It is a big question.
Or kind of familiar, which version should I buy, or how do I get it as cheaply as possible? That's a big question.
Yeah, or since we're all living in a post-Vista world, should I bother upgrading at all? We'll do our best to answer all of these questions in the show, along with lots of tips and tricks to help you get the best Windows 7 experience possible. Before we talk about which version of Win 7 to buy, or where to buy it cheapest, I gotta ask you, Patrick, will you be upgrading?
Yes, actually, we got a 64-bit eval copy in for Microsoft, but I will be buying a 64-bit copy for my quad system at home and a 32-bit version for my netbook, my beloved netbook. Although I may keep running the free version on my netbook until it runs out next year, just to see if the prices drop a little bit.
Just to see if it magically disappears, too.
Yeah, well, I've also got another copy I need to buy because my Core 2 Duo system is now becoming a home theater PC, and it's needing some love because it's still running XP.
So my tip of helping you install Windows 7 from a USB thumb drive will actually be helpful for you for your netbook later on.
Yes, it will.
Excellent.
My Dell's going to be rocking the Win 7.
So why aren't you going with Professional or Ultimate?
Well, basically the home version is pretty amazing, right? There are 3 main retail versions of Windows 7. Home Premium, which is a great name. It's Home Premium. The suggested retail price, and that's $120. Professional is $200, and Ultimate is $220. I should point out that those are the upgrade prices. The full retail version of Windows 7 Ultimate runs a heart-stopping, brace yourselves, $320 at full retail. Professional rolls in at $299, while Home runs in at a somewhat more conservative $200.
That's a lot of bones.
It is a lot of bones, and the truth is Home Premium includes most of what most of us will need. Windows Media Center, the nice new Windows 7 interface. Basically, it scales nicely across all different kinds of processors. It's got Home Group, which is some nifty networking stuff, pretty much everything I need. I really wish it had BitLocker, which is Windows 7's encryption tool for your hard drive, but you need to pony up for the $220 Ultimate Edition for that. The professional version does not have BitLocker, but it offers the XP mode for compatibility with older software, along with backup and restore to a network. Look, I think for most people, Home Premium will be more than enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll end up going with as well for my gaming PC. I'm still on XP as well. I never did the Vista upgrade, so I'm ready for a change.
I have a PC running Vista at home, but we don't talk a lot.
You've had a little falling out, strange relationship.
SP2, it was kind of like a reconciliation, but that's the second major Vista slag in today's show, by the way. We'll probably lose count later on, but we should talk about actually getting the best deal. It's really all about buying the OEM version. It's kind of like, do we buy an upgrade version or an OEM version?
Yeah, OEM versions are for system builders and are for pre-installation on a new personal computer for resale only, which means 2 things for most Tekzilla viewers. OEM versions don't come with tech support. That's the assembler's problem. And more often than not, the retail outlet you buy it from will probably make you buy a piece of hardware along with the OS. A motherboard, a mouse, a USB cable, some kind of hardware. Not always, but sometimes. You'll get Ultimate for $180, Professional for $140, and Home Premium for $100 and these are all full installs.
Which means you don't have to wander around with like, here's my XP disc.
I think $100 with a little bit of hardware could be worth it.
Yeah, mouse.
At that point.
You can always use another mouse.
We're your tech support anyway. Come on, you're fine.
You're probably your own tech support for a lot
at
of
this
this
point.
stuff. So, hey, look, we're going to talk about whether you should buy the 32-bit or the 64-bit version a little later on in the show with Loyd Case, and he's going to tell us about the one serious performance hack you can make for Windows 7.
Well, while we may be gushy over Windows 7, there's always a dark cloud with every silver lining. And here with his is the incomparable Roger Chang. Let's begin at the top. What are the top 5 reasons why someone should not upgrade to Windows 7?
All right, number 1 would have to be pricing. There's 3 prices. There's one for Home Premium, Professional, Ultimate. None of them are cheap. Even if you just do an upgrade, you're looking to spend at least $100. And if you're going for Ultimate, it's $200, $220 for an upgrade, $300 if you're doing a full retail box. Now, college students are a little luckier. You can get the Professional or Premium upgrade for $30 if you qualify. Now, you have to go to the website to see if you qualify, and you might be able to snake out at a couple extra copies.
I could still fake it, right? I've been using a lot of sunscreen.
Do you still have your student body card from college?
Oh, no, I don't. Curses, they have ways of knowing too anyway. Steve Ballmer would come to my house and shake me down for it. I just know it.
He probably would too.
He probably would.
Speaking of shaking down, drivers. These are things that should have been shook down before Windows 7 shipped. I actually had to go out on the web to find Windows 7 drivers for my TV tuner card from ATI. Lo and behold, there are none whatsoever. In fact, the drivers they do offer are for a similar but not the same product. In fact, they're for the follow-on TV tuner product that ATI offers. So I literally had to surf through 5 different forums over the course of an hour and a half, 2 hours, to find out that I can use the Vista drivers, but I basically have to force Windows to look at the Vista drivers folder in order to get installed. Well,
isn't there software out there that can manage your drivers and help you figure out which ones need upgrading, so you can kind of do it all in one take instead of having to hunt and peck for your drivers?
The ones I've tried for Vista weren't very good, so
okay.
I can't imagine the ones for Windows 7 have been any better. One egregious thing is the fact that I have a Microsoft webcam. No driver install when you install Windows 7.
For a Microsoft webcam?
No, you have to go back to the Microsoft site and download the drivers all over again because, it's such a difficult piece of hardware, it needs a 30 meg install to do everything. Very important.
Very difficult to come by piece of hardware. Very rare. I can understand why the drivers are so difficult to find.
All right, software. Software is one of the things that Microsoft likes touting as being backward compatible with successive versions of Windows. Lo and behold, I tried TrueCrypt, and it will not encrypt the entire drive.
What happens to your data that's already encrypted?
Well, if it's already encrypted and you have the whole drive encrypted, I suggest you unencrypt it first. Because Windows 7 actually keeps a lot of the boot files in a separate partition, it's a little different. So TrueCrypt itself could not encrypt the entire drive. I could still do container files.
Okay.
I could do folders, I could do directories. But if you want to do the whole drive, you're going to have to do kind of a Linux workaround. And this is only one software product that is incompatible. There are probably several, if not hundreds of others that are floating out there. Most of them tend to be system tools. And that's kind of obvious because Windows 7 is a different beast, especially if you're moving from XP. But be aware of that. And I do suggest that if anyone has any kind of third-party software that they bought online that maybe has 1 or 2 writers supporting it, developers supporting it, check to see if they have a Windows 7 version before you run out. Because if it's that one piece of software you need that won't work on Windows 7, then you just blew $100.
Your SOL.
Yes. All right, security interface. Yes, I know Vista and Windows 7 have done a lot to improve security in the Windows operating system. However, I still believe the interface is sorely in need of a freshening up because it's so difficult, especially for a new user, to kind of figure out where everything is. If you want to go to the security or system and security interface in the control panel, yeah, you have firewall, you have Defender, but if you're someone new, does that mean anything to you? And granted, you have UAC and you do have all these kind of naggy tools at you, but it's still not a cohesive, simple to use interface to get all your security measures taken care of. You literally have to go in 4 different places depending on what you're using.
All right, and number 5?
Number 5, way too many versions of Windows. I don't think they really need 6 versions. I understand that one of them is for developing markets, another one's for OEM. but even with the Premium, Professional, Ultimate, you also have Enterprise. I think that's like six versions in total.
But isn't it good to have a lot of different versions in case maybe you don't want to pay so much for something that has features you don't need? Isn't it nice to have choice?
Well, why don't you start off with the basic OS that you can sell at a lower price and then sell the add-on separately as downloads?
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, seriously, do you really need to have 3 different or 4 different retail boxes?
It is very confusing when you're trying to figure out which version. You have to look at all the different specs and see what you need.
Think of all the friends and family members who call you asking, which one should I get? I don't understand. Why is Premium sounds pretty good because it's a premium product. What about Ultimate? That sounds like an Ultimate product.
Where's Windows Badass?
I know, Professional. Professional sounds like some cool kid would use.
Yeah.
Where do you pick? So it's really confusing. I think they should kind of rationalize that into a single product. But it's me. Finally, and I know this is kind of nitpicky, stupid Windows 7 launch party video. I swear to God, this is the prime example of why people need to go to school to learn how to market things.
Oh.
It's really bad. It's shot well, though. I must admit,
pretty. It is pretty.
As an infomercial, it's done very well. It follows all the standard infomercial tropes. You have a mixed group of people. You have the housewife. You have the professional, you have the next door neighbor, all kind of,
the hip cool guy, the mom character.
Yeah, and none of it really matters because it's an operating system. Who cares?
It's for everyone, Roger, and that was 6 reasons, by the way.
Oh.
So, are you going to be upgrading?
Oh, I did it this weekend.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Roger. Good on you to direct your seething anger towards something a little more productive for once. That's good. That's good. Still to come, Will Smith is bringing Maximum PC's top Windows 7 tips. But while we've got your attention, looking for a way to support more clients by spending less money? Use GoToAssist Express and you will instantly be able to connect to a customer's computer so you can fix technical issues right on the spot. Service more clients more efficiently and more affordably. Whether you're in customer support, technical consulting, or management, or just a computer guru, GoToAssist Express will help you increase revenue, reduce travel and support time, and service more clients. Plus, if you sign up for a free trial, you'll be entered for a chance to have Patrick and I help you with your computer issues live on the taping of Tekzilla on Monday, October 26th. Just go to gotoassist.com/Tekzilla, sign up for your free trial, and forward us your confirmation email. Send it to Tekzilla@revision3.com with your computer question and write GoToAssist Help in the subject line for a chance to participate. Please support us by supporting our sponsors like GoToAssist Express.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick. A free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, Macrium Reflect Free. Making a good backup of your current Windows install is crucial in case your upgrade to Windows 7 goes horribly wrong. Thankfully, there's Macrium Reflect Free, a disk imaging tool that lets you create a complete disaster recovery CD for your Windows machine. Operation is simple. Select the drive or partition you wish to image and click on the Create Image button. Select your destination, like a USB hard drive, click Finish, and let Macrium Reflect do its thing, because your part is done. If you want to save some space, Macrium Reflect features various compression levels letting you balance disk size with imaging speed. Plus, there's the option of creating either a Linux-based rescue CD with network access and GUI, or using the BART-PE plugin and creating a BART-PE-based boot CD. Macrium Reflect is both XP and Vista compatible and comes in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. So if you want the peace of mind a rescue CD brings, you should download Macrium Reflect free before you install Windows 7, like today. Maximum PC has been up to its ears in Windows 7, and like us, they're pretty stoked about it. Want to get the most out of the new operating system? Editor-in-Chief Will Smith is back with his top tips for the new operating system, and lest you think he's gone completely fanboy over the latest OS from Microsoft, he's got a list of applications he wishes were right there in Windows when it ships so he wouldn't have to download and install them. Mr. Smith.
Good to see you, Patrick.
At least you're not Agent Smith. Welcome back, dude.
Oh, thanks, man. It feels like it's been about a week.
Oh, my goodness. It's been exactly a week. Actually, there's a new, we should point out, there's a new edition of Maximum PC.
Yeah, no, that's a real photo, mind you.
It's a real photo?
Yeah, we hoisted up in a giant cherry picker to shoot down on the kite toward the ground, rather than have something that looked photoshopped and fake.
Was the kite suspended?
The kite was suspended off of I was holding it with like 3 arms extended out with poles, and it was an incredible engineering feat for a bunch of sweaty nerds.
So basically, should people just look at the cover, or should they go inside the magazine?
I like the stuff in the magazine. The cover's nice. That's just once you've got it, you can put it aside, though.
29 XP, Vista, and Windows 7 tips, because Maximum PC knows XP is not dead, people. I was going to say we should start with my personal favorite, always, which is keyboard shortcuts, because they're the coolest thing on the planet. But I thought maybe we should do the shiny stuff first.
Okay.
What do you like? What do you like best in the Windows 7 interface?
So the new UI, the new taskbar along the bottom of the screen, it replaces the old school taskbars. Fantastic for people who run a ton of applications. You know, I have 10, 20 applications minimum open at any given time, and because of the way the windows stack on top of the icons, you can actually go immediately to the window that you want, even if you have 20 windows open in Firefox or IM Windows or whatever. You can get there in like one click.
I made somebody nearly cry because they like clicked on one of my icons. There was like 125 instances of Chrome. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's not me. They gave a separate process for everything that starts up.
Of course.
But
yeah, so I mean, that alone, whether you're using a huge 30-inch panel or like a little tiny netbook, makes the OS much more usable, especially if you keep a lot of applications open. And there's some great keyboard shortcuts to go with that.
What are your favorite keyboard shortcuts?
There's 3 or 4 really killer ones. Windows key plus 1 through 0 opens the corresponding application on the taskbar.
Oh, wow.
So you can, if your Firefox is your first place, Word is your second, Outlook is your third.
So you're talking about the ones that are actually pinned to the left side.
The ones that are pinned to the left side of the taskbar, exactly.
Right-click, pin to taskbar. It's really useful.
That's excellent. So another one, if you have multiple monitors, Win plus P will let you cycle between main monitor, extended to 2 displays, secondary monitor only, or I don't remember what the fourth one is. I never use it, but anyway.
If you have like 9.
If you have like 10 monitors, yeah, you need more. And then the last one is Win plus Space. Lets you swipe everything from your desktop clean, so you can see. I have a ton of files on my desktop.
200 files that are clustered on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you want to hide the Tetris, you're
also a pro tip. Yeah.
So how about setup tweaks? We were talking. You had some ideas for setting up Windows 7 that might help people out.
I mean, really, the normal Windows install tips apply, right? So you install on a large. Usually, we devote the whole partition to it. I know in the old days, a lot of people would do a C and a D partition, but because of the way the way your user profile is stored in a subdirectory off of C, you can sometimes get into trouble with that, and it's still entirely too hard to move that subdirectory off of the C drive. Aside from that, it's like hardware is an important thing. You want to make sure you have, 2 gigs of memory minimum. I think 4 really, especially if you're going to be using 64-bit.
It'll run fine in a netbook with 1 gigabyte. If you have 2 gigabytes, okay.
Your idea of fine and my idea of fine might be different, but it's okay. It's better than Vista.
Nothing runs great on 1 gigabyte at this point.
Yeah.
However, I think 7's going to run better than XP Home or Vista.
Well, it's a market improvement from Vista.
Yeah.
For low memory situations.
Continuing on our slag Vista in Windows 7 launch week.
Well, Vista was bad at the beginning, and even not great during SP1, but SP2,
absolutely,
fixed a lot of the problems.
I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money for an operating system and wait for 2 service packs
we gave it a low score because of that. Yeah,
I can't imagine why. So basically, like 2 gigabytes, install it on the largest hard drive. Try not to separate it across multiple drives.
Exactly.
Email apps so good. You had an email. Applications so good you want them integrated with Windows.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some things that are always a problem. You know how you look at a list of folders, and you never know which folder the one that's the biggest doesn't come to the top of the list. So you have to keep drilling down into folders to find that there's a 35 gig file in some subdirectory someplace.
Which has been a problem with Windows forever.
Since DOS.
And it's not like you cannot tally the contents of a folder.
No, it's not a hard thing to do.
No.
So there's a program. It's a free program called WinDearStat. You install it. It maps out the whole drive. I'm sure you guys have talked about it before. Gives you a nice graphical picture, so you can see, oh, hey, this folder where I keep my illicit
what's this giant
downloads.
splotch of color?
Yeah, exactly. It's all color coded. It's a great application. Another thing that should be integrated, and kind of is with Windows Update, but is a utility called Secunia PSI, which actually looks at all of the software, not just drivers and Windows software, but everything from Acrobat Reader to Firefox, and looks at all of the security vulnerabilities that are out and gives you update information based on that. It's a great piece of software, and I think it's at secunia.com, secunia.com.
While you're talking about sort of looking at updates, I haven't seen any sort of commercial, because we had a question about it last week, and somebody's like, I want something that's going to tell me which drivers need to be updated in my system. Is there any point to use anything for your hardware drivers other than Windows Update?
Yeah, with Windows 7, the Windows Update stuff is a lot better. So, on Vista and XP, I'd tell it to look for drivers, and it would detect maybe one thing, and that would be my monitor and maybe a mouse or something goofy.
Apparently, I've had a happier time with Vista driver upgrades.
You probably build your own. I mean, if you're using notebooks and stuff like that, then then they're much better. If you're doing home-built machines, like I generally do, it's a little bit of a challenge, right? It's better. It's not perfect. However, there's increasingly fewer drivers you need to kind of keep updated. At this point, chipset drivers you install when you build the machine, video card drivers, you know, when you install the machine, and then every month subsequent. And then from that point on, you don't really have a whole lot of driver updates to do. Windows Update in Win 7 is much better and actually picks up stuff like network drivers and you know, all the other weird little things that you might not know about.
Sorry to derail you.
No,
so
okay.
What other applications would you like to see installed?
The other thing that I absolutely love, 7-zip, of course, I'm sure you guys have talked about that, is a great zip manager. It lets you open all sorts of weird files that the integrated zip tool don't, and typically come only with paid software like WinZip or WinRAR. And then the other thing is Dropbox. I mean,
really?
I mean, I am a super Dropbox fan. Yeah. I mean, between all the stuff you can do with Dropbox, because it's just part of your file system, I mean, sure, you can share files with your wife or move pictures to your grandparents or whatever, but the beautiful thing is when you start doing things like dropping symbolic links in from the rest of the file system into that Dropbox folder. So, you know, if you want to keep your Firefox profile in sync across multiple computers, you can do that with a symbolic link. You can keep your IM chat logs all lined up. You can keep your Outlook file, only use one Outlook file if you want to do that. I mean, there's a ton of awesome stuff you can do. And I mean, you can get like 3.5, 4 gigs free.
Right. 2 gigs.
2 gigs to start, and then you can refer some friends, and they'll give you, I think, 250 megs per referral.
Because right now the paid cap on it is 100 gigabytes, and I'm like, part of me is like, A, where's the 1 terabyte version? And part of me is like, could you please let me password lock this so it doesn't automatically let anybody who's on my system have total access to Dropbox?
Well, the secret there is to put it on one. There's a secret, always secret. I'm all about secrets. Is to put it on different user profiles. So give, you know, don't install Dropbox. Install it only for your user and only on your login. So when somebody else comes and logs into your
wife
computer.
uses my machine, and actually, what would I hide from my wife?
Right.
It's the kids. Other people that actually
the kids and the mother-in-law, right?
No, well, actually, I had somebody like was nosing around my machine one day, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I'm looking for stuff. Get away. Yeah,
that's not cool.
Well, it's you know, it's part of my terminal paranoia about like that one.
I had no idea.
Encrypted document about. Well, I have, like every account I own is in an encrypted document. So
speaking of encrypted paranoia, TrueCrypt is the other application. It's a fantastic application, open source AES. Lets you create a file that's highly encrypted. That's
the one. The one thing about Windows 7 is you can't currently run TrueCrypt to encrypt the entire hard drive under Windows 7.
No.
But you can spend an extra $100 to get the unlimited version and get BitLocker, which should be a $20. I don't even know why it should only be in the ultimate version of Windows 7.
I mean, I think BitLocker, the problem right now is with BitLocker is the performance hit is pretty significant for me. Like if I'm playing games, I don't want to do it on a BitLocker volume. There's stuff coming in the future that will hardware accelerate that AES encryption. It'll make BitLocker a lot faster. However, it's still kind of a corporate thing. I mean, basically what BitLocker does is protects you if your laptop's stolen and makes fixing any problems on that computer really, really hard. I mean, TrueCrypt, I like to use TrueCrypt just because it lets me only protect the files that actually need protecting.
So you can have a directory that's like all
directory,
financial
folder, file,
stuff,
whatever. And you know, you can put that directory on your Dropbox. Right. So that then it's available on all the computers you use. So.
And it's still encrypted.
Exactly.
I like that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Smith, MaximumPC.com. And of course, Maximum PC is on your local newsstand. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is chock full of goodness. Is this the December or the January
edition?
That
is December issue, but it's out now.
Okay, so it's
We're
not
living
January
in the future. No, it's not January yet.
Not living too far in the future.
Not just a little bit.
Thanks so much for your time, Will.
Always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, how do you get Windows 7 on a netbook or anything else that doesn't have an optical drive? Ryan is going to show you how to install Windows 7 from a thumb drive when we come back. But right now, let's thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Here to tell you a little more is our intern, Kaylee.
Hello, Kaylee the intern here to tell you about Squarespace. Did you know that most employers will do a Google search on their job candidates before hiring? That goes for interns too. Now, before getting my internship here at Revision 3, I wanted something out there online that would represent me in a professional way. That's where Squarespace came in. And there were a few music blogs out there that really caught my eye with their clean, colorful, yet sort of minimalist design, and I wanted to model my site after them. After buying KayleeEmerson.com, I started by picking one of Squarespace's designer templates and adjusting the layout, block positioning, colors, and more until I was happy with what I had on screen. Then, after some feedback from my Twitter followers, I had a beautiful finished product in a little corner of the internet I was proud to call my own. I didn't have to do any of the coding. Squarespace handled all the back work. Now, I built my site from scratch, but if you already have a blog or website somewhere else, you can use Squarespace's shiny new blog importer tool. Right now, it's the only thing out there like it. It will bring over all of your WordPress, Blogger, TypePad, and movable type posts and pages over to Squarespace with just one click. It will also migrate all of your comments, tags, authors, media, and search engine optimizations so you won't lose your Google page rank. And for all you Tekzilla fans, use the code TEKZ to get 10% off of your entire order for life. That leaves you with pretty much no excuse to keep putting off building your own website. So go to squarespace.com and use the code TEKZ now.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, sonicliving.com. If you love going to concerts, then Sonic Living should be your new favorite website. It's definitely mine. It's a community builder on going to shows, sharing concert info with like-minded friends and other fans, and discovering new bands that you might be really into. And it has some really convenient features too. So you've got a huge iTunes library, but the thought of going through and picking out what bands you want to add to your profile on the site sounds like a total snooze fest. Luckily, Sonic Living can scan your entire library, with your consent of course, to pick out your most listened to bands and artists, so they can tell you when they're coming to your town. They can even check with your Last.fm, Pandora, and Slacker accounts too, just to make sure they've got everything. Once you've filled up your wish list of bands, they scour their extensive calendars and tell you when there are relevant shows coming up. Then you can just buy your tickets on the site and invite your friends. They even let your pals on Facebook and Twitter know. Naturally, you can add your friends from various other social networks automatically and see what shows they're going to as well. So if you feel like you need to get out of the house a little bit more and rock out, me, then give Sonic Living a try. Any new OS install requires some precaution and of course sensible planning. Chief amongst these is backing up your data. So Pat is here to share the top things you should keep in a backup drive before you install Windows 7.
And we should point out, there's not a lot of what they call in-place upgrade scenarios. There's like 66 potential upgrade scenarios from various versions of XP and Vista to various versions of Windows 7. And there's like, I think, PC Mover, the Laplink people who do a pretty cool tool called PC Mover, which will allow you to pretty much do an in-place upgrade of any version of Windows 7. It's like, well, it was $15 up until the day you're seeing this, which is now $30. But the idea is that they will actually back up all your information, allow you to install Windows 7 and move everything back, including all of your applications. I bring this up because in most cases, and everyone upgrading from Windows XP is going to have to do a clean install. So do us a favor and make sure you back everything up. Number one on my list, bookmarks. People forget to save their bookmarks.
Oh, can you imagine like starting up a whole new OS and not having any of your saved bookmarks with you? It would be like being in the wilderness without any kind of compass or anything.
I have like 2,000 bookmarks that are sort of nested and folded, and if I lost them, I would weep. Not softly, loudly, and probably from a rooftop. 2, your documents. Sounds stupid. If you haven't backed up your documents, you're running a risk of losing everything. And if you haven't backed up all of your documents and media before you upgrade, you're going to be like, oh, you wiped them out. Now, another one that sounds really silly and people will mock, but your passwords or any related software that backs up your passwords. If you don't use something that automatically backs up your passwords to the mothership in the sky, well, you're going to be SOL if you upgrade and wipe out everything without checking your passwords. While you're in there, your software keys, your serial numbers, or anything you've downloaded and paid for, make sure you have that before you wipe out your existing operating system installation. And of course, any download software that you paid for, if you're not allowed to download it again, and driver downloads, if you need them, download those before you wipe it out. Download them, back them off to a thumb drive, or burn them to a disk so they are ready when you relaunch Windows 7. So, I got to say, if you're terrified of the whole like clean install, which you shouldn't be, I think it's a good thing. But one thing you may want to do is actually take a look at Laplink's PC Mover Windows 7 Upgrade Assistant. Nice tool, basically saves everything out for you while you're in, or kind of backs it off, and doesn't even require an external hard drive. Sort of parks it in the corner of the system and lets you do your upgrade. But do us a favor, just measure twice, cut once before you wipe out everything on your hard drive. Because most scenarios, in pretty much every XP upgrade, there is no direct upgrade. There's no in-place upgrade that's going to save everything out on your system. It's going to wipe your system to move to Windows 7. So heads up now before you make your precious pictures go away.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that because when I was installing the Windows 7 beta, I actually wiped an entire external hard drive that had all my previous backups on it to try to make one of these little puppies a USB bootable thumb drive to install Windows 7 on my netbook.
The phrase oops comes to mind.
Oops.
What's the opposite of a squee? This is a family show.
Blarg.
A blarg.
I think a blarg. Blarg.
So you are going to be rocking the thumb drive update right now.
Yes, if you're looking for a way to install Windows 7 using a thumb drive, like because you have a netbook or don't have an optical drive for whatever reason, like for example, doesn't really relate because we're talking about OS 10 versus Windows 7, but my MacBook Pro does not have a working optical drive. I think I've probably discussed that on the show a couple times. Or if you just want to have a thumb drive to carry around and show off to your friends and say, oh, I got Windows 7 on here. It's actually super easy. First start with a copy of Windows 7 or the ISO if you have it already for like the release candidate. If you have the ISO, you'll need something like iZark to extract the files from the ISO. Then take a thumb drive, like this little one right here. Make sure it's 3 GB or more and formatted for NTFS. You have to make the partition on the thumb drive active. The easiest way in Vista would be to open up the command prompt, as admin of course, and type diskpart, list disk, and then remember the number of your USB flash drive, so it would be like disk 1 or disk 2 depending. Now select the USB disk by typing select disk 1 or whatever the number is. Now that if you have more than one hard drive, the number of the flash drive you have plugged in will be different and reflected in the list disk command. So pay attention, don't do the wrong one because then you're going to be totally SOL. It's our favorite little acronym today. Now you need to get a list of the current partitions on the thumb drive, so type list partition, record that partition number, the one that you get. Now we need to select the current partition to make it active. So type select partition 1, 1 being the partition number of your USB flash drive. It might be different if you have multiple partitions on your thumb drive. Then type active. Diskpart should state that the partition is now active. Once you've done that, just open up the Windows 7 install DVD in Windows Explorer, copy over all the contents of the DVD to the thumb drive. So just hit Control-A to copy everything and drag that puppy over to the root of your thumb drive, and voila. This should all work in Windows 7 too if you want to make a thumb drive after you've already installed. For XP though, you're going to have to install Diskpart to get that whole thing working. It's not already on there in the command prompt. Otherwise, there's also some software that'll automate the whole entire process for you, which I might recommend if you're a newbie at this kind of thing. One is called Win2 Flash, which will turn your flash drive into a bootable drive from the Windows 7 install disk. It's a free download that you can find at win2flash.com. Finally, don't forget to set your PC to boot from USB drives first, and the install process should start like it normally does.
Cool. So basically, it's like BIOS and boot off the USB drive after you've done the wild creation process.
Right, and then it all depends on different computers, but you want to boot into BIOS and then select the USB drive to install from there.
Otherwise, it'll just boot into the hard drive.
Exactly.
You'll be like, why is it ignoring my USB drive?
It's like I worked so hard on this little sucker.
Yay. Veronica's off to go install Windows 7 everywhere. Coming up next, Loyd Case is here to discuss. I hope I'm 64-bit. Well, actually, Lloyd's going to talk about 32-bit versus 64-bit and which one you should be installing when it comes to Windows 7. But first, GoDaddy.com, people. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names are as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and so much more. Your website visitors, prospects, and customers are wary of websites and online businesses that aren't what they claim to be and worry that their personal and financial information might fall into nefarious hands. Turn your visitors' concerns into a competitive advantage. I love the paranoia with the ironclad protection of a GoDaddy.com secure certificate. Plus, entering code TEK4, that's TEK4, when you check out, you'll score an additional 15% off any order of $75 or more. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details. And be sure to check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the Tekzilla GoDaddy deals and codes. Please get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and support Tekzilla by using one of those TEK codes when you do. You'll be saving cash. He scored a break from benchmarking hardware to join us to talk about Windows 7 performance and whether or not you should go 32-bit or 64-bit with the new operating system. Welcome back to Tekzilla, Mr. Loyd Case.
How you doing?
Good, man.
I have here the signature edition of Windows 7.
Is that actually
Steve Ballmer's signature? I don't know if it's Steve Ballmer actually signed it or a signature machine signed it, but yeah.
I'm actually going to say that a machine signed it. Well, maybe Ballmer signed it. No, I'm pretty sure.
It looks too precise.
No, actually, it's embossed. I'm pretty sure even Steve Ballmer can. Well, actually, he might have pressed really hard with the pen. That's actually, so is this what came, is that the Windows 7 party package?
That's right. Well, this is the one of the bags that came in the party pack. So yes, I'm on the Windows 7 party pack list.
Will you be having a Windows 7 party later this week?
Well, you know, I have a LAN party most Friday nights, and that's going to be the Windows 7 launch party for us.
Have you installed Windows 7? How many? Okay. First of all, you need to send us a picture of the LAN party.
I'll do that.
Second of all, do you have Windows 7 installed on how many machines are down there now? 11?
I have
14.
No, I have 5 working systems for the LAN party stuff, and Windows 7 isn't all but one of them right now.
Really? How have you enjoyed the whole gaming Windows 7 thing?
Support's been flawless. I mean, with the kind of games that we play. I mean, I went back and tested some older games, and there's a couple of really, really old XP games that don't work very well on it, and pre-XP games. But for the most part, it's been pretty flawless. For
DirectX 11, it's a nice idea, but there's probably like no games out there.
There's one game out.
There is?
It's called Battle Forge. It's actually a DirectX 10 game that was patched to DirectX 11. Not really a lot of differences yet. But there's a couple more coming before the end of the year.
So is Battle Forge like a morgue, or is it sort of a Valley Forge meets
online,
space thing?
It's an online real-time strategy game with kind of a collectible card game mechanic.
I'm going to hold off on upgrading to DX11 then. I don't want to take anything against Battle Forge. It may be epic, but well,
actually, the reason to get DX11 is not at games at this point, but because the fastest graphics cards on the planet right now are DX11 cards.
This is a good point.
Even if you're running DX10 or 9.
So go for the DX11. So when we're looking at Windows 7, I think probably the biggest decision for people that they've never run into, the Linux folks can calm themselves right now, but you're looking at Windows 7, you're looking online, you're looking in the retail shop, 32-bit or 64-bit. What's the dividing line? Who should go with what version?
Well, my take on it is that the first thing you should do is check your hardware and make sure you have all the drivers, or that all the drivers are available, at least 64-bit. If you're doing 64-bit or you're thinking about it, make sure you have 64-bit drivers, either Vista or Windows 7 64-bit drivers. If so, then I'd go with 64-bit.
Why is that?
You can load it up with memory, and the more memory you put in, the better it performs. Essentially, what happens is, for example, I have a 12 gig system, right? And what happens is it does.
For once, I have a system. I've matched a single system spec of Loyd Case. This is a big day for me. Sorry.
What it does is create these big disk caches so that applications load faster and everything just happens. The whole experience is much smoother, even a 6 gig system.
Not all processors, though, are going to be compatible with a 64-bit operating system?
That's correct, but you got to go quite a ways back. I mean, Intel Atom processors currently, I don't believe, are 64-bit. But if you want, you have to go way back to find non-64-bit processors, at least 3 years.
Like my beloved Pentium 4 beater?
That's right.
Okay, so
and even some Pentium 4s are 64-bit, some of the later ones.
Really?
Yeah.
So in terms of like if I want to run 12 gigabytes of RAM, I'm going to need support for that.
You need something that'll run 12 gigabytes. If you have a triple channel system, obviously x58 Nehalem class systems are triple channel, so you can put 12 gigs easily. Most systems are dual channels, so you'll have 4 or 8 or something like combination like that.
So it's worth basically maxing out. Memory's so cheap now too.
It is. Even DDR3's gotten cheap.
And that's probably, would you say that's really the only, you know, because if I'm looking at the operating system, there's not a lot of fat to cut there in terms of performance.
In general, we've discovered that, and I think Will Smith will back me up on this when he comes on. Windows 7 is a little bit faster than Vista on most pieces of hardware, on most systems. And it's as fast as XP or faster in some cases.
Which is a big plus. It's kind of funny if you think about, you know, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows NT. It was always, you always got, you know, maybe it was only 10%, 14%, but there was always a performance boost. Then Vista just kind of sat on all of that like an overweight something.
Well, people forget. I mean, when they went from Windows 98 or ME or whatever to Windows XP, there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth back then about the hardware requirements.
I mean, I just ignored Windows ME, and I continue to because it makes me happier that way. Well, so pretty much, so the memory, probably the memory would be the one. It's really hardware hacks are really the only way you're going to stuff a lot of performance in Windows.
There are you know, if you're making the decision also between 32 and 64-bit, there's some things to think about. For example, if you already are running a 32-bit Vista or XP, you're going to have to completely reinstall.
Right.
And that means, you know, you don't have to reformat your hard drive, but it'll do the bit where it sort of backs up your old operating system and all your old data. But you'll have to completely clean install, which means completely reinstalling your applications. Right. You got to have your, your CD key for all your apps and all that kind of stuff.
I prefer the clean install though.
Yeah.
Especially with a major operating system upgrade.
Although the in-place, I did on one of the gaming systems I have, I did an in-place upgrade from Vista, and that system's working pretty well.
I like that thought. So, any other hardware upgrades? Obviously, pretty much, you know, faster processor, faster hard drive. Is there anything that's going to be a particularly beneficial beyond memory for Windows?
I say for most people, you really don't need to upgrade your hardware. It's like the first Windows version where you don't actually require to upgrade your hardware to make it run well.
Especially after Vista.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna hammer on Vista all day long.
Deservedly.
Yeah, and it's a perfectly functional operating system. If you're happy with it, if Vista's running great for you, ignore me. But yeah, Vista 7 launch, Vista launch, not 7 launch. I'm gonna let go of Vista now and ask you, any other projects you're working on right now? What's coming up?
Oh, I'm working on some graphics card stuff. I'm also working on some. I've been exploring something called the Performance and Reliability Monitor in Windows 7, which allows you to identify which apps are reliable and which aren't, so you can sort of track that. And in fact, it helped me track down a problem I was having with Firefox.
Will you come back and talk about that when you're ready?
Sure.
I like that thought.
Right.
This is the least reliable app you run. That's actually kind of evil. I like that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find more Loyd at improbableinsights.com. It's his website. His work is also published in Maximum PC and PC World. Go forth and hunt it out. It is good. Coming up next, actually, we're almost at a show, but we want to tell you about the Totally Rad Show. They recently relaunched with all new intros, weekly theme songs, and more ways for you, the audience, to get involved. This week's show is huge. They're talking about the new game Uncharted 2, the hotly anticipated Where the Wild Things Are movie, as well as the new TV show Flash Forward. And the TRS guys played video games for 24 hours straight to help raise money for pediatric cancer research. You can check it all out at revision3.com/TRS and come back every Tuesday for new episodes of the Totally Rad Show right here on revision3.com.
And for all you watching, we live on your questions. So email us, Tekzilla at revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails, so don't be shy. Send them in to Tekzilla at revision3.com.
Even better, send us a video question. Just keep it to 15 seconds. Upload it to YouTube and send us the link in an email with video question in the subject line, the Evita-style hand movements. You can sing your question and use the Evita-style hand movements.
Don't cry for me, Tekzilla viewers.
Thanks so much for watching. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla. Bakrian reflect. We hebben een good staben. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's make some TV. Woo! Holy hell's bells. You rolling?
Looking at your lips. Chapstick.
I need a masseuse. Oh, that's even better.
I gotta ask you, Patrick, will you be upgrading to Windows 7? Patrick? Patrick? Oh, Tux, will you be upgrading to Windows 7? Will you be upgrading to Windows 7?
I'm gonna be pissed if people want to stop using Linux.
No?
It's better.
You want another kiss? Aw, your little kiss. We'll talk about you too, one of these days, I promise.
Really bugs my, oh, let me pick that up. In 3, 2. Another thing that really grinds my gears, actually I shouldn't say that. Another thing that really kind of bites me is, what?
It bites you, does it?
It bites me like a bed bug.
Another thing that really chaps my ass.
Good. 3, 2. Another one. 3, 2.
Veronica's imitation of her booth at the Folsom Street Fair.
3, 2.
I'm sorry, you did that thing.
Just do this for me.
I'm trying. You're doing funny stuff.
I'm doing the crazy, I know. You just have to ignore the crazy.
It's really scary when you do that. I'm going to install Windows 7 on everything.
On you.